Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Unofficial Steelers podcast. I lost the intro there, but I'm already live. I hope everybody's having a
It
wonderful
works.
time. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me is Nathan Hines. Nathan, how you doing, my man?
Not too bad, man. We're tired. Work today. I had to go grocery shopping, just the typical crap. But we're here. Glad that it worked out where I was able to hop on with you. We're gonna have some good conversations, some good things to talk about. At least there's some exciting things going on here going into June. So good to see everybody in the chat. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good evening today. Daniel, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, there's been a bunch of news that has gone on in, out of OTAs or coming out of OTAs. It's exciting. There's been a lot of clips that have been airing out, showing the new quarterbacks,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
receiver connections. I'm excited, man. It's been good. There's been a lot of questions answered, so to speak. We'll start off with, uh, you know, well, first and foremost, let's start off with the draft talk. 2026, Pittsburgh's going to hold the
Yeah.
draft. How excited are you about that?
It's cool. It's cool that they're going to host the drafts. I'm interested to see where they'll end up putting it. I know probably wherever the draft's held, as we can see on TV, but even what we can't see, just probably how crazy it is getting down to wherever it's being held at. I'm sure Pittsburgh's probably going to be a zoo.
I'm pretty sure, man. Are you going to
So
go? Any plans already making to go? I think the Steelers might be in for a quarterback first round then.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It would be cool. Be cool to get down there. I might have to book a hotel a day before, just so I can walk over and not have to deal with driving in down there.
Yeah,
A
that's for
nightmare.
sure. Yeah, it's going to be, I believe, on the north side or north shore,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So, in front of the stadium, it should be a good time. I'm considering going, but I heard somewhere about estimates around 700,000 people
I believe it.
flying into Pittsburgh or
Oh my
driving in,
god.
and that's a possibility for even more, given the close proximity to a lot of places. I mean,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's kind of the central there when you look at you have Ohio to the west and the New York teams to the east.
Right.
Could be a
Yeah,
lot of people
100%.
coming in.
Yeah, there is. It's gonna be absolutely nuts. It's crazy. The Pittsburgh airport, for anybody that'd be flying in, I'm sure flights will be crazy. Pittsburgh airport's actually really nice. It's really never really that busy ever. So I'm sure that that it'll be probably the busiest that it's been in there in years. 100%. So, but it'd be cool to go. It's definitely something in the back of my mind once that time comes around that it would definitely be cool. It's kind of a once in a lifetime experience, so it'd be cool.
Yeah, I hear you on that one, my man.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I might go with so many people. It depends. It depends on what the Steelers
We'll
are
get a
looking for
hotel
at the
together.
time. I don't know about that one, but we'll. But it depends on what's on the market for the table for the Steelers at that time.
Yeah.
It's 2 years away. Justin Fields, he could be the guy. Russell Wilson, if he ends up being the guy, you're probably looking at the final year or pretty close to. So you might be looking at a future there in that position. I mean, there's so many places the Steelers can go in that time. So
Yeah.
depending on what position of need or what the rumors are will probably depend on whether or not I'm going to go out there. I mean, if they end up drafting like a defensive end in the first round, I'm probably not going to be there. You know,
Oh yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah. It kind of depends where things are at come that time, but it's at least something that I think that the city's kind of been wanting for a while. So finally that they got it. Green Bay should be good next year. So it's cool it's coming. I don't know what the other city was in the running. I forget who it was. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see once the time comes. It's definitely gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a disaster all throughout there with the traffic and everybody incoming, but it should be a great time.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But that's in the future. Let's go to the present. And right now, it is everybody can talk about his quarterback position.
Yeah.
Justin Fields was talking to the media. He had like a 30-minute interview in front of his locker stall there, and in that interview, he spoke about having the mindset to compete. He doesn't have the mindset that he's going to sit all
Yeah.
year, be on the
Yeah.
bench, and that
Mhm.
Russ knows that he's going to be competing for his job. Kind of seems to me that he's taking up the challenge that Kenny Pickett was unwilling to and is going to. I think there's going to be some sort of competition. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a fair one, but it does seem like there's going to be one.
Yeah.
What do you think about Justin Fields' words? Do you think that maybe he's, everybody should just, is it just media talk, saying the
Yeah.
right thing,
Right.
type of thing? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the right thing for him to say. It would be concerning if he didn't have that type of mindset. We saw the one guy who pretty much put a diaper on and went to the other side of PA. So having a guy in there like Fields has started. We know that coming in, it's definitely good that he has that mentality. He has kind of that chip on his shoulder. I'm sure he knows he can learn a lot too with
Mhm.
Russ there in the room. But Fields is a type of guy that, in my opinion, does have NFL starting uh, capabilities,
Mhm.
and I want to see him definitely take that to the next level. And I hope he does. And I think that it's a good position that he's in where he's not coming in with all the weight on his shoulders. For example, if they didn't get Russell Wilson and they just rocked with Justin Fields, he doesn't have Fields would have a lot of weight on his shoulder in the sense of the Steelers haven't had good quarterback play. There's a lot relying on him for him to take a step forward because we know he's kind of been up and down throughout his career too. Fields obviously has a lot more promise than these previous guys had, but at the same time there'd be a lot of pressure there, a lot of pressure for him to come in right away and make this a playoff type team. We all know the expectations. So I think him coming in having Russell Wilson there, it's going to bring out the best out of both guys. But I think for Justin Fields' sake, he's still young and he can learn a lot. He can kind of recharge and reset himself and keep working, and his opportunity will come when that is. We don't know at all, but I think it's a better situation for him coming in with another guy here than just him having that sole spot. Because as a young guy coming out of the problems with Chicago, coming to the Steelers, there's a lot of expectation here.
Yeah.
So, kind of getting thrown in the fire right away, especially with a lot of things that he does have to clean up and get better at. I think it's better for him just if he's able just to kind of take a step back, not where he's not going to work hard or anything, but where it's not just solely on his shoulders right now.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
but the comments are good. The comments are good. It gets you excited. He looks good out there in the black and gold. Russell Wilson looks good out there in the black and gold. It's still crazy, even though everybody can have their opinion about Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl champion. Russell Wilson has been a top quarterback. He was a top quarterback in the league. We know throughout his time in Seattle. So it's still kind of like cool that a guy like that is here and kind of seeing him in the black and gold. Um, just out of that aspect, it's still kind of like surreal in a way that a quarterback like that, who's kind of been there, done that, is in kind of a uniform. So Steelers uniform, I mean. So it's good. It's good competition for both guys. Both guys have a lot to prove. So it's gonna be fun.
Good deal. Good deal. Z comes in saying he had a major explosion at work. Is this one of those that happened in the latrine? Is this a restroom explosion? Let us know if you're safe, my man.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, he's I don't know. It's probably all those chicken nuggets that he ate there. I don't know.
yeah. Well, I mean, uh, there was a quarterback that threw 2 pick sixes today. One to Patrick Queen, one to Landon Roberts. Do you know who that was?
Okay. I haven't really been too much kept on, or I haven't really kept up with too much news today. Just given I just haven't really had the time to look over it. I'm gonna say,
Oh, hold on, hold on. I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint.
yeah,
This quarterback ran and congratulated one of the linebackers, Patrick Queen, on his interception.
he congratulated him.
Well, it sounded like it. I mean, he went down there and shook his
Okay,
hand. I
was
think
it
is what
Russ?
it was Russ.
Okay, that sounds like something he would do.
Yeah, that when I heard that, see, I heard that from one reporter, like, we can't say who it was, but they
Yeah,
went down and congratulated Patrick Queen, and I was like, that
yeah,
sounds like Russ.
that sounds
And,
like something he would do.
and then I was listening, I think it was Al Saunders, and he ended up coming in saying, yeah, that he for sure threw one to Patrick Queen, and he couldn't remember if the other one or not was he the one that threw it, but he thinks it was him that
Yeah,
threw him. And so it sounds like both of the interceptions came from Russell Wilson. And yeah, when they said that the quarterback ran down there and congratulated him or whatever, shook his hand or met him to celebrate, I think is what the terms were.
celebrate with him.
Yeah, celebrate with him in the end zone. I was like, yeah, that sounds That sounds
That's
like a
funny.
Russ thing.
Yeah, that's funny. That's great.
But
Yeah.
it's OTAs. These middle linebackers, I'm hearing a lot of good things.
Mhm.
But before we go into that, do you think that there is going to be a real competition in training camp? I necessarily don't think so. I think that uh, regardless of anything, Russell Wilson is going to probably be starting quarterback week 1 of the regular season. Now, I do
Yeah.
think that how he plays is going to determine whether or not Russell Wilson is a starting quarterback week 17 of that same season. I think that there's a good chance that Justin Fields will or could, if Russ fails, if he
Mhm.
doesn't do what he's supposed to. Um, I don't think the Steelers are gonna. They don't have anything invested in him to say, all right, we're going to give you the entire year. So
Yeah.
I
No, they
do
won't.
think that there's that possibility. Do
Yeah.
you think that if they're close, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, do you think they go with Russ, or do you think they maybe they go with Justin, who could have more of a potential future with the Steelers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like with the Steelers' MO, I feel like they would go with Wilson because Tomlin loves his veteran quarterbacks. Wilson's
Mhm.
kind of done a lot, accomplished a lot. So like if they're close, I would hope that that would mean in the sense that both are looking good. And I think if both are looking good, Wilson would still get it. Now, if they're close in the sense of where it's really not that good, maybe Fields in that type of way. But if there's a close competitive race and there's promise looking on both ends, it's going to be Wilson for sure. Yeah.
So as long as Wilson doesn't drop the bucket, he's
Yeah.
probably going to be the starting guy.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
I feel the same way too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know,
think that's just what Mike Tomlin likes. They obviously like Justin Fields a lot, or else they wouldn't have traded for him. But I think with Fields, they just want him to ease himself back in. They want him to they want a little pressure off of him. Obviously, they and ourselves know that Justin Fields, who knows, like he could get. I hope that he gets an extension before the season starts, or else there's really no leverage there.
Mhm.
But I think Steelers and a lot of the fans, like, yeah, Fields has an opportunity to be their future. And it's just one of those things, kind of as I was saying, like why it's a good scenario for Fields because I think that the Steelers like that aspect of having a guy like him learn from Russell Wilson and kind of reset himself. He's only 24 years old.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
Yeah.
I think he'll do good from learning from
Yeah.
Russ
Yeah.
and just being around the organization and things like
Yeah,
that.
a lot of young quarterbacks need that. Fields didn't get that in Chicago, of course, which not saying that every first round pick quarterback needs that or is going to get that, but a lot of quarterbacks end up end off better when they're able to kind of have a mentor there. The game's
Mhm.
different. It's a different game from college to the NFL. It's completely different. So, with that said, yeah, I think it's going to be Wilson for sure, unless there's just a completely unforeseen thing.
Yeah, if he just kind of poops the bed
Yeah,
or
yeah,
there's an injury, I think it's gonna be Russ.
yeah.
And I know he threw 2 pick sixes, or that's been what's been alleged out there. I haven't seen him, but it wasn't in regular ball, and it's like vanilla stuff that's out there right now. They're just getting the basics. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it's kind of like watching preseason, and we all know how that burnt us last year.
Yeah, it did.
So
Yeah, it did. There was a lot of not even just for Kenny's sake, but there was just a lot of expectation going to that Niners game offensively,
mm,
just
hmm
from everybody. And that they're going to start off hot and the offense is going to look like just a whole refresh group and it was just complete dog piss. So
yeah.
I think
Eh,
that fans, sorry, Daniel, I think that fans just kind of seeing probably some of the videos, some of the pictures out there of the new quarterbacks. I think barring kind of what we see in the season, it's exciting. It feels good.
No, I think it does, and I think a lot of the players have kind of attested to it. Talked about the leadership in the room already, how these guys take control. I think one player mentioned it was a passer, a catcher. I think it was, man, it could have been Muth or George, but one of them said that they'll tell you how they wants you to run a certain route, where to be positioned, how to look, certain things that they weren't getting from the other quarterbacks prior to this year. And I think a lot of that has to do with the experience and being, wearing that, as Tomlin said, that franchise hat, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. The other thing too to be extremely excited about is this new offense. I mean, the Arthur Smith offense. I've heard a lot of good stuff coming out of training camp about it, and I think it was on DK today. He was talking about that he was talking with Muth, and they were talking about how they're going to use him. For one, it appears that he may be that slot guy that they use quite a bit more often. They probably plan on using him kind of similar to what the Atlanta Falcons, and how they use their tight ends, and he's probably going to get a lot of targets. But one of the things that he said was, in this offense, there's a lot less tails, meaning predictability kind of coming from, Matt Canada.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more than just one facet that the Steelers got better, and they got better in the quarterback position and at the play caller position. And, this team, and especially last year towards the end of the year when we saw Mason Rudolph go in there, and when we saw what the potential of these weapons have, because, I like Mason Rudolph. I thought he should have been the quarterback the entire year, but he's really not a franchise guy.
Right. Yeah.
He's not a Ben Roethlisberger or a Peyton Manning or anybody that's going to take you to a couple of Super Bowls or any of those things. He's a Ryan Tannehill or Kirk Cousins. Somebody that probably can get you to the playoffs. And I think I'm elevating what we've saw out of 3 games just by putting him in that bracket right now.
Yeah.
So with that being said, these guys here have the intangibles. They have the things you can't coach: the speed, the strength, the ability to throw the ball, all parts of the field. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the offensive mind with Arthur Smith. I think that obviously there's going to be some growing pains, as there would be with any team going through so much change. But I think by the time things start to matter, come after the bye week, I think this team's going to be in all right shape. I think it was probably more of a blessing than anything else when all of the teams that are important are in the second half of the year, when we should expect this team to be running on all cylinders. So
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about Arthur Smith's? What do you think about Pat Freiermuth being there in the slot, maybe becoming more of that receiving tight end?
I think that they should have did that last year. Going into last year, I thought that that should have kind of been their look in terms of using him, because the year before that too, he was pretty underutilized. The last couple of years, we can all say he's been disappointing. I don't really think that's really all his fault. He has every once in a while he'll have some injury bugs. We all know he's not a good blocker, but in terms of receiving tight end, I think he's one of the better guys. And if they're able to utilize him, especially if they decide not to go in a direction of getting another top wide receiver, I think that there's a lot on the table to be able to use a guy like Freiermuth in there. And I think he would be all for it, because with Pickens, you draft Roman Wilson, we all know it's pretty thin after that. You got a lot of 4s, a lot of 5s. Whoever makes the team, whatnot. So getting Freiermuth in there, getting him in the middle of the field, getting him off of play action, etc. He's got to be used much more better than how Matt Canada used him. So I was all on board on that, of him kind of being a primary slot guy last year going into the season, and hoping maybe that they would try to do something different. Obviously, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So with this year, hearing his comments, seeing some things come out of the last couple of days, in terms of what has been said about Arthur Smith, I don't know, because even with him in Atlanta, there was a lot of criticism with his usage of Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts is a very good receiving tight end himself. So hopefully maybe that there will at least be a little bit of difference in terms of Arthur Smith's usage with Pat Freiermuth, because Kyle Pitts, of course, is more athletic. He's faster, everything like that. But they're both more on that receiving end of a tight end. So if Arthur Smith can kind of go a little bit of a different direction with Pat Freiermuth than what was used toward Kyle Pitts, uh, it should be probably one of the better things that they can implement to their offense, adding him in the slot. Roman Wilson is probably going to get a lot of looks there as well. I'm still on the hopeful side that they're going to make a trade for receiver. I'm not saying they need to go trade for Brandon Ayuk, but I still would like to kind of go see some type of relevant name, a guy that's dependable, and you're not just kind of trying to pull teeth out of a guy to kind of be a side George Pickens. I don't think that they need to go get, like I said, a superstar. But if you can get somebody that's reliable, dependable, that would make sense to play across Pickens, I'm still all for that. But with that said, Pat Freiermuth definitely needs the ball more. He needs to be utilized to his strengths, and that's a receiving tight end. In the last 2 years, it hasn't been there, and it's not all his fault. Quarterback play, system, play calling, you name it, whatever the case is, all that are factors. So with this year, Arthur Smith, a lot of players are liking what he's doing. Of course, it's a lot different for them. It's probably it's a breath of fresh air for them, I'm sure, with what they've dealt with the last 3 years, and being able to get somebody who's a seasoned NFL coach. Just because, and here's the thing with Arthur Smith too, is that a lot of fans, and probably still, but when Arthur Smith was hired, we all know there was a lot of questions. Some people didn't like the move. But just because he failed as a head coach, it doesn't mean that he can't have success as an offensive play caller. He had that in Tennessee. That's why he got the job. There's so many times where coaches in the NFL get promoted to be a head coach and it doesn't work out. And it's okay. Not everybody's meant to lead a team. Not everybody's meant to be a head coach and a leader of an NFL team. There's a lot more there's a lot of coaches that succeed very well in calling defense and calling offense in terms of their mind toward said side of the ball. In terms of being a leader of men, in terms of kind of being the final answer for a football team, it doesn't work. Cliff Kingsbury is a prime example. Was awful with the Cardinals. Did not work out. Good offensive mind. He's with Washington. Another shot as an offensive coordinator. Did a really good job in college with his type of offensive philosophy. I can go on and on. Dan Quinn, didn't work out. Great defensive play caller, great mind. Mike Zimmer, same thing. Great defensive mind. Did not work out with the Vikings. Some guys just aren't, and even when he's with the Bengals, some guys just are not meant to be a head coach, and it just doesn't work out for them. But it doesn't mean that they still can't have success in a different role. Arthur Smith, he could find himself in that here.
Yeah, and I think a big component also for the lack of success when it comes to the Arthur Smith in Atlanta is the lack of a quarterback. Very poor quarterback play that they had out there. And when you look at the teams surrounding them, they're a good team, especially offensively. I mean, they were able to move the ball down the field through the ground and things of that nature. But when it comes to the Steelers, there's been, and I know you mentioned Wilson there. There's been a lot of buzz about him. Apparently, he's doing pretty good. I think it was Joey Porter Jr. had made some sort of statement to DK or one of these guys I was listening to, and he said that he's really popping off the screen out there. He says that he used to defend him quite a bit in college, and that he can tell he's stepped up his game.
Yeah.
And I'll bring this up real quick for everybody. And so these are the receivers and the quarterback. The quarterbacks, throwing some routes. There's going to be a 3 and slant, and just kind of watch these different receivers. And then I'm going to put another one on. It'll be not Russell. It'll be the other Wilson at the end. So this one is number 16. I think that's Quez Watkins. This is George. So they're all running the same route.
Yeah.
3 and then a slant. A lot of them are going they're cutting kind of in. A little weird. That one was probably the worst. That was Calvin Austin. I'm not lying. Look,
That sounds about right.
This is a 3 and slant in, and he's doing like
Yeah.
a 3 cut in, and then
I mean,
kind of
it looked like he was
starting to
about to trip
fade.
over himself.
Yeah. That one wasn't good, and so
You ain't selling anything on that.
no. And there you go. That's Jefferson. That one was okay. I think out of these guys, probably George Pickens was the best. But then I found this other clip, and this one is of Wilson. And I'm going to put the sound on this one so you can hear what they also say about it. You can hear the quarterback yelling, "Hey, you see that angle?" The reason they're saying, "Hey, do you see that angle?" is because that's the angle that the other guys should have been running. When we're running a lot flatter in.
Yeah.
He's already showing up, and he's the newest guy on the block.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
A lot.
Absolutely. That's why I don't, especially drafts that are heavy with wide receiver. That's why it's hard to sit and say who's going to, and you can say this with any prospect, but especially wide receivers, because so many times the wide receiver classes in drafts are more heavier than not. And when it just comes to the Steelers, they just have that knack. They just know they have a knack for that talent at that position. And drafting Roman Wilson, sure, he went in the 3rd round. He wasn't one of the more higher ranked wide receivers, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. There's so many times receivers go later in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, and they end up developing into a talent. They end up actually becoming something even over those 1st round wide receivers. So Roman Wilson's in a good position. He's in a good spot here. Steelers know what they do when it comes to this type of position, and it wouldn't surprise me if he has in the type of season where he just even exceeds expectations. He's mature, especially listening to him talk. I like him a lot. I think a lot of fans will catch on to him.
Yeah, I know this is practice, and this is, there's no pressure here, but look at his eyes when he catches the ball. He watches it all the way in.
Yeah.
I think he had less than a 2% drop rate in college, or his last year in college, something like that. Very dependable hands, and this is probably why. He watches the ball come in, he secures it, and then takes off. In Michigan, from my understanding, they were more of a running team, which kind of limited his targets.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to see what this kid has, man.
Yeah.
The Steelers were
absolutely.
I think they were trying to make something happen at the wide receiver position. It sounds like they still kind of want to, but the longer they don't, maybe it's a product of them liking what they have.
Yeah, that's possible too. Like, even if they don't make a move, if they just really decide not to make a trade for anybody, don't write off the position. Let it play out. Let it play out. Let George Pickens and Roman Wilson and even a Van Jefferson, how they use Freiermuth, let it play out. So I think most people would probably like to see them bring somebody in, just kind of having that security there. But if they decide not to, it is what it is.
I agree. But yeah, no, I'm excited. The other position that I think is going to get a big boost from Arthur Smith is going to be the running backs. I mean, that's also going to get a big boost from the offensive line, and we'll get into who is playing in what position today. Or we found out who's playing in what, and we'll talk about how concerning it may or may not be. But before we get into them, let's talk about the running backs. Naji Harris looks like he slimmed down quite a bit. Looks a little bit faster. Burst is a little bit, in my opinion, it's there. This is a clip of him today. I think, I don't know. I think he's moving quicker. And he looks like he's lost about 10 pounds, if not maybe even more. I know that his trainer had came forward saying something to the effect that he was eating right and really working on his diet. And what do you call it? I think he's going to have a big year, man. I think he's going to have a big year.
I hope so.
The losing weight to to gain some burst and stuff like that was something I think a lot of us were hoping that would have happened between that, freshman and sophomore year. But better late than never, man. Get it
Yeah,
out there. I think this is going to be beneficial, especially how Arthur Smith likes to run to the outsides. He's going to have that speed. And
100%.
um, also speaking about Naji, Coach T spoke about why he didn't get his 5th-year option. Did you hear that?
I did. Yes.
So
Yeah.
he said a large part of it, he's like, there was some depths to the waters of why he didn't get it. A large part seemed to be positional business, I think is the way he described it, meaning that they don't see the value of a running back being worth $7 million a year. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's kind of lame, honestly. Like, we all know running backs, the narrative, replaceable, most easiest position to replace the NFL. That is true. At the same time, there's a lot of talented running backs that deserve to be paid and should be paid, all things considered. And they didn't pick up his option. It doesn't mean that they can't re-sign him, but I thought the 6 to 7 range on a 5th-year option for Najee Harris wasn't anything at all. I think especially as you look around the league with some other backs, I don't really think that's really much at all. Running backs, it kind of seems like it's in that 10, maybe 12 at the most type range. That's just kind of really their market. So if you're getting Najee around 6 to 7 for another year next year, you at least have another security season of Najee and Jalen Warren together. Because last year they were great together. This year there's a lot of expectation. So I still don't to this day fully agree with the option to do that. But if Najee decides to go off and have a great year, then that's great. Hopefully he can cash in on a decent contract here or somewhere else. So I don't know. I don't really think that's a bad price, honestly. I really don't. I'd be perfectly fine with 6-7 for him.
I would too, man. I was very surprised when it didn't happen. I think there's more to it. Coach T brought up, some of the financial aspect. I know there was some rumors that maybe perhaps it was more of a request from Najee. I still think that there's something, maybe not a lot to that, but I don't know. It's weird. Z asks, would you take Najee or a 30-year-old Derrick Henry this season? Who would you take this season?
It's a good question. I don't think it's too far-fetched. Derrick Henry's a beast. He's honestly been one of my favorite players in the NFL throughout his career. So I love his game. I love the way he plays. Um, I think it's actually a little bit more of a difficult question than it more is easier. Derrick Henry's name obviously is Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry also at age 30. We know with running backs as even like because okay, we can look last year, Derrick Henry, right? Age 29, did his thing. Okay. That doesn't mean he's gonna do that this year. That doesn't mean he's going to do that this year at 30 years old. Another year, an extra year is an extra year on his body. So with Derrick Henry, I might still kind of give a little bit of the edge to him, just given the fact of what we know him as. And at age 30, I don't really quite see him taking a full step back yet. Maybe next year. But I also could still lean toward Najee Harris, just given he's what is he? Was he 25, 26 years old? So he has more time on his side. Derrick Henry's obviously had the better career for sure. Najee's not going to touch Derrick Henry's career. But in terms of where things are at right now, I feel like I can lean anyway. I'll give a little bit of the edge to Henry, but I wouldn't be surprised if Derrick Henry slows down.
Mm. Yeah, for me, I think it's a different answer for the team, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it would make sense for Derrick Henry this season on the Steelers. I wouldn't be opposed to it, and I
Yeah.
think that Baltimore would probably prefer Najee, just because Baltimore is the place where running backs have career-ending season-ending injuries in the first training camp preseason. I
A lot.
mean, Yeah, there's been so many, and you're expecting a 30-year-old to go through the same stuff that these other
Yeah.
guys did
Yeah.
and still have his knees. I don't know about that one. Now,
Yeah.
Najee's a durable back. I'm sure the Baltimore Ravens probably would prefer somebody who's available all season
Yeah.
over what they've had the last few years.
Right.
So, I think honestly, I'd probably stick with Najee regardless. I think
Yeah. I
that
don't think it's a far fetched question. I really don't.
yeah, yeah. I don't think
I think,
it's a far fetched question, but I think I'd give the edge to Najee regardless.
yeah.
You know,
I think,
he,
yeah.
I think he's lost some weight. He looks like he's gotten faster. Um,
Mm,
he's at an age where he can still maintain speed or pick up a
yeah.
little bit of speed.
Yeah.
You know, Derrick Henry's at the age where he's on the decline on those type of things.
Yeah.
And I think I'd rather have something at this point of the season more of the. I think I know what I'm going to get out of Najee, and
Yeah.
Derrick Henry is more of it's a little bit of a
Yeah.
question mark.
Yeah. I think Derrick Henry's a one and done in Baltimore this year.
Yeah,
I think he is. I don't think he's going to do bad for him. I think really when we look at it at the end of the day, I think just we're going to look at it as it's not Derrick Henry of old. You can look at it. He'll probably do some good things for him if he stays healthy, but it's just kind of hard to see, especially with his type of play style. Man, he's just a ground for pound guy.
yeah,
And he's just like he's a tank. Like he is. Like he's in great, like always in great shape usually, but he's just a tank. And at age 30, it's just hard to kind of see a play style like that hold up. It definitely could, and he could still look solid at 30 and go in there. But in terms of just kind of when we look at what it usually is and the track record of things, it's just hard for the body to keep up,
Hmm.
especially
Especially in a
depending
long
on your play
season.
style. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, I'm sure he'll do some good things for him. I think just Baltimore will just kind of look at it as like, yeah, we can probably just get better protection somewhere else cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the direction they'll go after this year.
The Steelers are going to have to deal with that problem twice a year this upcoming year.
Yes.
A lot of questions on the defensive side. Defensive line is a big question mark as well. Cam Hayward, he didn't show up. I haven't seen Larry Ogunjobi out there either.
Dude, I love Cameron Hayward calling out Jerry Dulac. That was great.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
great. I love it, dude. Jerry Dulac is a joke. Dude, I've called him out. He has me blocked because I called him out. Like he
Yeah.
just, dude, I don't know how he has his job. I don't know how he's been a quote unquote Steeler insider for all these years. He's wrong about everything. His information is 90% of the time false. And whatever his sources are, wherever he hears that from, maybe go get a new one. So it's crazy how many times this guy is wrong. And good on Cameron Hayward calling him out.
Yeah, the Cam called him out. There's been a little bit of back and forth between Cam, and Gary Dulac and Mark Madden has thrown his 2 cents in. Have you seen
Yeah, he
that?
is. Yeah, Mark Madden's a joke too.
So
Unless the
Mark,
Penguins are playing good, he hates all the Pittsburgh teams. Hates them all. Doesn't matter. Steelers could win a Super Bowl this year, and Mark Madden will still talk negative about it.
that's true.
Appreciate it, Z. Enjoy enjoy fluffing those pillows.
So just so that everybody knows, Mark Madden said Jerry isn't lying. Jerry said basically that Cam hadn't spoken to the Steelers, that he's waited for his announcement that he wasn't going to show up to OTAs until he did it for his podcast, and then Cam came back saying that was a lie and to get better sources, and just because he doesn't text him doesn't mean that he doesn't communicate with the team. Yeah. Mark Madden came back saying Gary isn't lying. Cam's trying to save face. The athlete will always say what makes him look good because he knows marks like you will believe him. So F off. And then Cam comes back saying, not trying to save face, but I've been upfront and honest. The way I was depicted of not communicating with the team is completely wrong. There's been calls. I've actually spoken to multiple people. Might want to check your source. The media member will say anything to get a click. I think he's right. I mean, I side with Cam on this one.
Yeah. Oh, well, for sure. If you're working in media, you're always you'll play a shtick, you'll play a certain character. Like, come on, you can watch First Take. You're telling me Stephen A. Smith doesn't play a character on First Take? Of course he does. Of
That's
course
how
he
he
has.
talks at breakfast with his
Yeah,
wife.
yeah. It's how he talks to his wife every day. Media has a shtick. They have their own characters. They have their own ways of how they know it's going to get people talking, whether it's positive or negative. Andrew Filiponi's another guy in the Pittsburgh media that's just like that. All you got to do is go on his Twitter, on his X, and go through his comment section on every post that he puts up. He's wrong about everything. So they like that. Mark Madden has his own shtick as well, and that's what they like to play to. So I think Cameron Hayward's right.
Big deal that he's not there right now.
No,
I don't think so either.
not
Do you
at
think
all.
I don't think he's going to play training camp. If he doesn't get a contract extension, I don't think he's going to do the preseason. Now,
Yeah,
I don't think
I,
he should have regardless. I mean, I would have had him out there in practice, but I wouldn't have played him during preseason anyways. What
probably
are your
not.
thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it'll really matter too much. I read that they're gonna pay him his entire salary this year, so I don't see why he wouldn't show up if he wants to go make over $20 million. I don't see why he wouldn't show up. I understand he wants contract extension, but you really gonna miss out on one of your biggest paydays of your career?
Yeah.
It's hard to not see that happen.
Well, the Steelers have a dead hit or something like that of 22. Isn't that what he counts towards the cap?
Yeah.
But I think he's actually getting paid like 16, something like that.
I don't know. It's around that ballpark, and it's hard to see a 35-year-old just sitting out. Like that's just not going to happen. You want a contract extension. A 35-year-old player misses a year. Who's going to sign that? There's zero leverage on that. Who's going to give you the money you're looking for when you didn't even play and you're going to be 36 years old? Nobody's giving you that.
The only other thing, the concern is if he hasn't been to the building, he had surgery this offseason. Have the Steelers had their chances to look at him?
There you go.
You kind of get their, hands on him to kind of see how he's progressing through said surgery. I think that would be important before you give him an offer.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
And if he hasn't been there, I think that might be an issue. But he is in Pittsburgh. He was at the Resilient game or something like that, where Ben Roethlisberger came back because he had a one last comeback win in Acrisure.
Yeah, one last hurrah. Yeah, throwing a touchdown to Hines Ward or something. I don't know.
To Jerome, yeah, we threw one to Hines too.
Yeah. It was cool. It
was good to see. But on defensive side, I don't think it's a big deal. Larry Ogunjobi, I haven't seen him out there. I've looked through a lot of videos, but nothing yet that it says that he is there or not there. This is voluntary. I think the Cam thing is just a bigger issue because he's been to every single one, and he made an announcement about this one, which is, to grasp somebody's attention.
Yeah.
But that interior lineman position is one. Who do we have? We have Keanu Benton, we have Larry Ogunjobi, and then Martavius Adams. I think is your best next option there in the middle after Cam and the top guys there. One guy who nobody's really talking about is old Loudermilk.
I can't believe this guy's still on the team.
Me too, man. But check him out going through some dummies. If he could go through some real players like this, it would be great.
Year 4 breakout.
Yeah, right. I wish. But this was all about the defense, man. Patrick Queen looks good. He had one of the pick six we have here. You have Highsmith and Watt out there. That's awesome. So you got some of the leaders out there. I saw Minka out there as well. Good stuff. Well, this is was it Sean Elliott? Number 25. He's our newest MVP. That's McCormick.
Yeah. Dean Lowry. What about Dean Lowry, Daniel? I don't know too much about Dean Lowry.
I don't know much about Dean Lowry either.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you concepts. I'm not too familiar with.
He's the. No, that's not him. That's not the Iowa, right? Yeah, we signed or drafted. That was Lee something.
Yeah, Logan Lee. No, Dean Lowry. I think they gave a contract to this offseason.
Gotcha. I don't know, man. I'm concerned about the defensive line, but I'm glad that I saw the offensive guys right here in this picture.
Yeah. Is that DeCastro?
That's McCormick, my man. I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Packers. That's right. He came from the Packers. That's right.
Have you heard the starting lineup for the offensive line right now?
I saw Jones is kind of going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Troy's at the right. Dan's left. And then you have your interior.
All right. So today I was listening to Al Saunders, and he confirmed that it is your tackles on the left is Dan Moore with the first team. Tackle on the right is Broderick Jones. Your two guards are the same, and your center is Herbig.
I didn't read about Herbig. Yeah.
Yeah. The second team, though, and this may have been DK, actually. I think it was DK. And then the second team, though, has Broderick on the left, Fatuanu on the right, and Frazier at the center position.
Yeah.
Now, Ramon Foster said that during Marquise Pouncey's first year, during OTAs and training camp, he ran with the second guys too. That this isn't uncommon. They're going to make them earn it. It sounds like everybody, all of them, are going to have to earn it. None of them were handed any position.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's OTAs, but I think by the time training camp comes around, you need to have that line and
Right.
where you think you're going to be playing your guys. What do you think?
Right, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
You know, I just think that the gelling, the chemistry, the camaraderie aspect of the offensive line needs to build, and I think they need to get some muscle memory going on, especially in this offensive line, or with this offensive scheme, with Pat Myers, the offensive line coach. You know, it's not been an easy one for offensive linemen to grasp fairly quickly in years before. I think it would probably be beneficial to put these guys in the place that you want them now.
Yeah.
But any chance you see Dan Moore being a starter this year?
There's no way.
No way.
There's no way. Unless for some reason he blows everybody's socks off in year 4. No, there's no way, dude. They drafted Broderick Jones last year, traded up for him, hoping to be their franchise left tackle. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think by the time training camp comes, these guys are going to be in the position that they need to be in. Yep. I think McCormick, though, I don't think he's going to start. I don't think there's anything that he can do that will allow him to replace Daniels. Or
I'm sure he probably knows his role already this year.
Yeah, but I do think that there's the possibility of him being a potential future guy. You know, you have Sayamalu, who's, you know, up there in age, and then you have Daniels, who's on his last year, I believe. So, and I think even the general manager brought it up that James Daniels was on his last year of his contract. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why they got McCormick. So,
it's possible.
I don't know, man, but I do like this offensive line. If we get the one we're hoping to get, if we don't, oh man.
Letting Dean Bishop start his slot corner. Dude, that would so happen. Oh my God, that would so happen, dude.
That would happen.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
You see, I think that's what a lot of people are saying is like, you gave the center position to Kendrick Green, but you're not giving it to Frazier. What are your thoughts on that?
I know. I don't get it. I think with Green, it was just really desperation. They didn't have any type of plan in place the last couple years with Pouncey and DeCastro there on their final legs. Kendrick Green, it just felt like desperation, moving him to center, needing a guy to step in, hoping maybe that he could transition. Didn't work out. So I think the Steelers are weird sometimes with their rookies. You can look around the league. Teams operate a different way sometimes, handling their rookies and everything. All about competition, sure. All about making guys earn it, sure. But I think just when you trade up for a guy like you did last year with Jones, I think when you invest a high second-round pick for a center, the writing's right there on the wall. And it needs to be that way week 1.
I agree, dude. I don't, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah.
You know,
100%,
I think,
dude. Like, come on. What are we doing here? you think anybody wants to see Dan Moore and Nate Herbig out there week 1? Nobody wants to see that. Nobody does.
Except the opposing team, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that. I'm fine with Dan Moore and Herbig and Spencer Anderson and McCormick being your backup guys for this year. I think that I think you have a little bit of quality depth there, but people want to see the starting five on the line week one. They do, and I don't see why we wouldn't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. Especially like week one is probably the least important game that you have on your schedule. When
Yeah,
it comes to the regular season, get them out
100%.
there and start it up then, man. I mean, if you
Yep,
lose
get it
against
cracking.
Atlanta, nobody cares. It's a NFC opponent.
Yeah,
It's not the division. It's not going to do anything when it comes to your divisional
no,
opponents. Because I know that there's a common opponents as a tiebreaker. They're not a common opponent to anybody on our division. Maybe perhaps with the conference, but
sure.
not in the division. So it's probably the least important game to have. And I think you should just get them going since the beginning,
Yeah,
and try to take your bumps and bruises in the beginning when it's probably not gonna where the damage is not gonna be as much, so to
yeah,
speak.
I agree. Yeah, yeah. It's a very fascinating off season for training camp, preseason stuff like that. There's always people always kind of like to watch those things of some of the young guys stepping up, but with all the moves the Steelers have made, this should be this should be probably the most fun preseason it's been in a long time.
The biggest question though in everybody's mind is Bill Burr and his punting.
Totally forgot about him.
I haven't heard anything about his punting yet, so that's
Yeah,
usually a good thing.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean? If he was
yeah. Probably if
shanking,
you don't
it'd be
hear anything,
different.
it's probably honestly better.
Right. But punting in the summer or in the spring is one thing. Presley Harvin can boom the crap out of a ball right about now.
Yeah,
It's during the winter time when it matters. Then
yeah.
when the season's getting old and
That was
cold.
tough to watch, man. 25-yard punts every other time he's out there. Brutal.
You know who else? And this will be the last person that we'll talk about. The last person that I've heard is doing really well. He's not really ready right now for contact, but says he will be come day one of training camp. Is Corey Trice.
Hmm.
I'm hearing he's doing some excellent things. They have him
Good.
a full participant right now. He just can't do contact,
Okay.
and so
Yeah, that's
he's
good.
out there. He's got a big brace on his leg, but I'm hearing a lot of good things about Trice.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks that he got hurt, but maybe it was honestly a blessing in disguise for him because he struggled with those type of injuries and before the pros throughout high school,
Mhm.
throughout college, he struggled with things like that. I hope it's not a situation where his injuries just derail his career. But if he's out there playing and everything, maybe it was better that something like this happened. Or I don't want to say it like that, but just because sometimes guys that are fragile like that or have a continuous variation of injury problems wherever it may be, if it's a leg injury, if it's a knee, something like that, the NFL is a completely different beast, and having that happen early on in your career, repair what you have to repair, sometimes that ends up working out better for guys. So
Yeah.
hopefully with Corey Trice, maybe it's that type of way. I hope it's not a Senquez Golson situation where
Mm.
he just doesn't see the field or just the injury problems are just too much and blah blah blah. So I hope it's not like that. It'd be cool to see him out there. He had a lot of exciting words last year. A lot of people were excited to see him, even beside Joey Porter, and unfortunately got hurt. So right now, looking at Porter, Dante Jackson, still not sure what they do in their slot. Cameron Sutton might still be in the back of their mind, waiting to see certain things unfold, or if the NFL is going to suspend him or anything like that. So we all know corner's kind of a situation; it's questionable, and they kind of have a lot of unproven young guys there. So we'll see, but it's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah, him and Rush, I think, had a good day today as well. And
Nice.
so, yeah, these guys are. I mean, it's OTAs, so it's
Yeah.
not. Can
Yeah.
get too excited. In fact, I
Yeah.
put a tweet out there that says, "I know I'm not supposed to get excited right now, but dot dot dot." And
Yeah.
I put a highlight clip reel, and if you guys want to go see it, it's a State of Steelers on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. And man, this team looks good. I'm hearing a lot of good things, especially coming out of the quarterback position and how these weapons can be used um,
Yeah.
more. I
Yeah.
think that we left a lot on the table. Well, not just last year, but probably in the last couple of years, with the amount of talent that we've had with this team, especially offensively.
Yeah.
And you factor in the quarterback issues, the offensive coordinator issues, um, the question marks in the offensive line. It's a miracle that the Pittsburgh Steelers made it to the playoffs. Last
It
season it
really
looked
is if you think
close.
about it. Like, looking back at last year, it's honestly really crazy they even got in
Yeah,
with just losing back-to-back games against the Patriots and Cardinals and going through 3 different quarterbacks and firing your offensive coordinator midseason. Like, it's pretty crazy to think about that.
I mean they're the wins too. You had the Browns game where Alex Highsmith and T.J.
Yeah.
Watt end up
Yeah.
winning that game. You have the
Yeah.
the Packers game where there was the block punt for a safety and all the field goals. I
Yeah.
think, and those were set up by interceptions. So the defense and the special teams
Winning
outscored
10
the
games
offense.
with a horrific offense averaging 13 points a game is truly something.
Yeah. And those pieces are still there on the defensive side and everything else.
Yeah.
Uh, Now they got something going on the offense. I think people are
So
sleeping on the
this
Steelers.
Yeah, this needs to be the year they win a playoff game finally. This needs to be the year where it's a big leap forward offensively. I don't think they need to be a top 10 offense, but they need to kind of be in the middle of the pack offensively. They need to have a pretty good margin from last year to this year, I think, for them to have success uh, as a unit. Defensively, I think we all kind of know what they can do. Sure, there's a couple things there you might be a little concerned about. What team doesn't have that? But offensively, with just how bad it's been, this needs to be a year where they kind of break through and where they finally kind of hit their groove with things and utilize this talent that they have, and you kind of retool your line and et cetera, et cetera. So this needs to be it where the offense has a pretty pretty separated margin from the last 2 years. I think really for them to win double digit games, it needs to be that.
Yeah. Yeah, this year's is a different story too. Last year, the schedule probably played the strength of schedule probably played a role as to why the Steelers got 10 games. Uh, that's not going to be the case this year.
No.
This is one of I think the hardest schedule out there in the NFL. They're going to have to be on their game every single game, every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no, I mean, I guess the Giants is probably the biggest trap game that there is. Maybe one of the Browns games. I know people are saying, "Oh, the Browns," but I have no faith in Deshaun Watson, and I don't know how Nick Chubb's going to look. And with those two guys, for the most part, probably not being their best selves or the best selves that they've been, I think that's going to play a role with them. And
Yeah.
so, I don't see very, but again, it's also a divisional game, so you really don't sleep on anybody in the division.
No, you don't.
Uh, so outside of maybe the Giants or the Jets, there's not really any trap games, and there shouldn't be any. And this is a very young
No.
team
Yeah.
and
100%.
an experienced team. They need to take everybody extremely serious, and I think they will. I think that there is some truth to the teams in the past looking down upon opponents. Players have said so as much, and I think that maybe perhaps some of that had to do with some of the players that were on the team now that those cancers are gone, like Deontay Johnson's of the world. Maybe perhaps we'll see a better outcome. I expect it to be at least.
It needs to be.
What are your final words before we let everybody go on this one?
Yeah. Well, it's good when you're seeing things online, videos, pictures of the players back, players playing, uh, quarterbacks out there, backs, receivers, excuse me, some of the rookies, coaches. It's always good to see that. It's good to see them working. It brings a level of excitement, even though we're only in the end of May right now. It brings a level of excitement. It kind of rejuices your energy a little bit for the season. Honestly, the season's not as far as people think. It's going to be here in a blink of an eye. June starts next Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be here in a blink of an eye. Training camp's going to be starting before you know it. I think the NFL offseason is a little too long, but it's not the conversation. But anyway, it's great to see it. It's great to watch the clips, great to watch the videos, the interviews. It just kind of gets you even more excited than kind of even where you were at last month about things. So I'm excited about this team, this roster. I'm excited about uh, just really how everything's going to unfold. It's a different feel. It's a different. It's just like I don't want to say it's not a full complete different team, but at the same time, it feels like one
Hmm.
with your new OC, your new quarterbacks, a lot of just changing of the guard that they did this offseason. It just feels new, and it feels right. It feels that this could be a team that does something good that they haven't done in the last handful of years, and I hope that's the case. So I'm excited to keep watching footage and everything like that. That's pretty much all we're going to get throughout June, probably. But then July, really, once we kind of see guys go to training camp and everything, it's going to be up a little bit more. And then first preseason game August 9th. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So it's very exciting. But everybody in the chat, you guys can follow me at In Hindsight, as Afton said there. Thank you, Afton. I appreciate you putting out there. You guys can follow me. I talk Steelers. I talk other sports as well, if you guys are interested in that. Daniel and I, we do our shows. Anybody new? Daniel and I, we do our shows on each other's channels. So next show will be on mine. So you guys can also give a follow there. Make sure you subscribe to Daniel's here at State of the Steelers. But everybody in the chat, always great seeing you guys. Anybody new, or maybe it's been a while since you guys have popped in. Good to see you guys. Thank you for putting your thoughts and your comments and opinions out there as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us. This is going to be a good year, man. This is going to be a good year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think I'm excited for it. And as long as everybody stays healthy, I think as long as everyone stays relatively healthy, I know there's going to be injuries and bumps and bruises and those type of things that happen. But, I do think that there's going to be more of an opportunity for the defense to stay healthier. I think this offense is going to be able to take more command of the game and thus not forcing this offense or the defense to play, I think 90 snaps, 100 snaps.
I know. Like, let's just get away from the poor red zone offense. Let's get away from the bad punting. Let's get away from having the defense out there 90% of the time. Let's get away from having the defense needing to pull you out every week. Let's just get away from that. Okay. The defense can have their weeks where they go off. Their defense can have their weeks where they help you win. But at the same time, the defense needs the offense. And hopefully this year they can actually get that for once.
Yeah. And I think they will. And I think
they will for the most part.
I do too. And I think that one of the products of the Steelers offense playing better, maybe even dominating in the running game, if they can do so and control the clock, is the defense not being on the field so much. And when you have guys like Larry Gajobi, Cam Hayward, who are up there in age and maybe have a little bit of an injury issue coming into the season, 17-game season, you're going to want probably to not have them out there so much. So, or as much as, you're going to want to minimize that. You're not going to want to have them out there the entire game.
Right.
It works in the short term, perhaps sometimes. I mean, we can go back to when TJ Watt got hurt against the Bengals last season, where he tore his pec there. At that point they had like 4 turnovers and a bunch of other stuff, but the offense couldn't stay on the field, and they were on the field so much that he ended up tearing his pec.
Yeah.
So we
that's got to change, man. That's got to change. I feel like the defensive players probably feel that way too. I think that they feel more confident. They feel excited. They feel refreshed with what's looking at the other side. Even Patrick Peterson said the same thing. He's not back. We'll see. I think it's possible he does come back. I wouldn't be shocked. But he even made some comments today or yesterday or something like that about him texting Mike Tomlin, everything about that, about getting Russell Wilson, everything like that. So even he sees it. Even he sees that it was something that needed to be done. So please, we all just don't want to, the last 3 years, really just be seeing the defense trying to win us every game and being on the field. We need points. We need ball pushed down the field. We need red zone efficiency, right? We need things like that. It doesn't need to be a top 10 offense. It just needs to be in the middle of the pack. Give me that. Give me middle pack. Give me 24, 25 points a game.
100%. I just love the fact that when we get into the red zone, we're probably going to see more 12 personnel stuff that we weren't seeing. 13 personnel,
100%.
2, 3 tight ends.
It's going to be really cool when, even when preseason starts, they're not going to show their hand, but it's just going to be cool. Even when preseason starts, you're going to see some glimpses of just a lot of different things that they're going to put out there. And it's going to be cool to see just the difference of even just what they're trying to do offensively.
Mhm.
And that's even just during preseason. When you see the first 2 games of the year, it's going to be like, wow, this is, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Steelers are going to be scoring 30 points the first 2 games, but I think just from what they come out with and the style of play and what you're seeing with different sets and what you're seeing with some of the tight ends and what you're seeing with a little bit more of play action and pushing the ball down the field a little bit, because Russ can still do that. But it's just going to be refreshing. It's not going to be, we all know it's not going to be what we saw with Canada, but at the same time, like it's just going to feel, good just seeing a new just kind of way of executing an offense out there,
Mhm.
rather than just rinse and repeat in every single time. Like it's just going to be fresh, and you're going to see it right away. Fans are going to see it right away. You're going to see Washington. You're going to see Hayward. You're going to see Frymuth out there. You're going to see a mix of Warren and Naji. You're going to see a lot of things out there like that. So, hopefully there's still some different elements than what he just was doing in Atlanta. I'm sure he's probably added some different things, but just kind of talking about it makes it exciting too. So, it's going to be great just not seeing a Matt Canada offense anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard Pat Frymuth say a lot less tails, and that being one of the major components or the differences between the offenses and the excitement that the players have for this offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna be a good year. Well, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. Again, if you're not following Nathan Hines, it's In Hindsight. I'll put it in the description here in a minute, and I'll put it also in the comment section for those that are watching back on the replay. But I appreciate everybody being out. We'll be back on Nathan's channel next time, guys.
Yes, you will.
With that being said, we're out of here. Since I didn't do the intro the first time. Peace.
Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host from In Hindsight, Nathan Hines. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.